This. All right, we're on. Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Rich Sanford, aka Rich the Architect, back again with another episode today. Today I have a guest, Matt Rahn from the Rahn Companies. He is works in the landscaping fields. And actually, I'm just going to stop right there and let Matt. Why don't you just jump on and tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Rich, for having me this week. We are the Rahn Companies. We are an exterior services provider. So what that is we're two unique companies that we teamed up together to provide full exterior maintenance and construction service to property managers and facility managers. We specialize in commercial properties, and we look to be a one-stop solution for all your exterior maintenance needs. What that means is we have a landscape division. We also have a construction division. So between the two divisions, we're able to handle anything on the exterior of your property, whether it's landscape maintenance, asphalt repairs, concrete repairs, drainage repairs. Those are a few of the major categories we cover, but pretty much we're a single source service provider for all your exterior maintenance needs.
Okay, great. And actually, just a real quick question. So you mentioned asphalt repairs. You would do like complete removal and repave an entire parking lot, let's just say?
We have selected subcontractors we'd work for on a complete repave. We specialize in, pothole repairs, crack sealing, more on the maintenance end of it, sinkhole repairs, getting the parking lot, keeping it in shape. If they're ready for a complete redo, we would sub that out to one of our preferred vendors. But what we want to specialize is our in-house services, which are the repairs and all that we do with our own workforce.
Okay, so it's you're more focused on the maintenance side of things.
Yeah, the maintenance and the repairs. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. No, I may have something when I ask because I may have something, but we can talk about that offline. Yeah. So with that, I mean, so you were mentioning with the construction end of it, that is more of, I mean, it's kind of like, obviously with me with the architecture, I'm kind of like the exterior walls in. You're pretty much from the exterior walls out on all the construction. Yeah. Okay. So you don't necessarily do you get involved with maybe some like utility work or, underground utilities, stuff like that, or?
Yeah. So we do, storm drainage work. We also do water and sewer service repair. So the water and sewer connection from the curb line to outside the building, we'll do the excavation and repair of those lines. A lot of times we work in conjunction with plumbers. They don't want to get involved in the stuff in the outside. They only do the inside. So we'll dig up the outside for them and get that ready for them to do their interior connections.
Okay. How about septic work or well?
Yes. Wells we don't do. We're not licensed, well drillers, but septics, yes, we are set up with the County Board of Health, and we do septic installations and repairs.
Okay. And septic systems for residential and commercial?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Well, is there a difference between a residential septic company and a commercial?
I would say, obviously there's a difference in the systems and the way they're designed and some of the apparatuses. A lot of the commercial ones have injection pumps and bubblers and some of the more advanced technology incorporated into them. But on a contractor side, I see a lot on the residential side of these, mom and pop excavation company, XYZ, that are, running from house to house, putting septics in. And a lot of them aren't necessarily bonded or insured properly to be able to do the commercial work with the needed inspection and engineering that goes into that. The residential is a little more lax on the qualifications that are needed. So there's a lot more of the smaller type businesses out there.
Right. And I think that it's funny. Well, because I went through it, the house that I bought, it needed a new septic system. I think there was a dry well and a leach pit or something in the back that the seller was trying to say that it was okay because it was never an issue for them, but it was. I mean, we bought our house 8 years ago, and it's like, no, the current laws require, or code requires, that you have like a real septic system now. And obviously that went in, but I think a lot of people are surprised of how much is involved and the costs that are involved for a system like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a big cost nowadays. In the last few years, like you said, there's really been a lot of enforcement on that. And in the past, where you could just transfer properties, now in order to get a CO, they're requiring septic inspection. And most of the time when they're inspecting them, they're failing them because they haven't been inspected in so many years that most of them are out of compliance. So when people are buying or selling a house now, they really need to look at that, because it's a $20,000-$30,000 cost that goes into the sale of the house, and who's going to be responsible for that cost, the buyer or the seller.
Yeah, and I've noticed a lot recently, with this kind of seller's market that's going on right now in real estate, how many front yards I'm seeing driving by that are like that are dug up, and I'm like, oh, that's a new septic system. That's a new septic system that's going on. And you're down in my neck of the woods, literally, and there's so many properties down here that were running on a septic or some type of old system, and if they're all selling, they all need to get updated. So
Yeah, and another thing there for us on our landscape side, we do what's called hydroseeding, which is applying seed and cellulose mulch to really get your lawn to grow. And a lot of times when those people use the mom and pop septic contractors, you'll see when they're done, they have a big mound of orange dirt that's left behind in their front yard, and grass doesn't grow well in orange dirt. So we do a lot of those too. Even if somebody uses another contractor to do the septic, after they're done, we come in and kind of restore the yard.
yeah, no, I could say like where my septic was. Now I have a farm, so there's a lot, like I don't seed grass, or I got like at least 4 acres that I'm probably mowing, like, and trying to take care. So I'm just like, I'm gonna let nature just provide me with whatever it provides me. But
Yeah.
the area with the septic, I mean, we've been there for about 8 years. We're finally, that area's kind of grown back in. Like I literally wouldn't mow. I haven't mowed it. This is the first year I'm going to start mowing it. Like I would just let it grow as high grass. Cause I mean, there was so much rocks in that, it was like tearing up my lawnmower or my tractor mowers and stuff. So I just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna let it grow. And once we get to a certain point, unfortunately, we started having a really weird weed. It's called like, it was like a Harry Potter, like hogwort or something like that.
Huh.
That was then actually growing into our garden and would take over, like in our backyard, the landscape garden. This weed would just take over, and if you pulled it, supposedly, I guess it would make it grow even more. So I think we have it under control. Hopefully, we'll see what happens this year. But yeah, when it's all like dirt like that, yeah, it does take some while. Yeah, because all I got in terms of that system was I think they seeded it, but they put like hay and some type of net, like landscaping net on it. But
Yeah, erosion matting.
yeah, it didn't really grow anything. And to be quite honest, it took me forever to pull that net off, because it started, things started growing, and then it just kind of got stuck. But
Yeah, and if they leave that orange dirt and the rocks, like you said, it tears up your mower, number one, and number two, like real grass seed that you put down doesn't grow well. So then the weeds are what takes over, and then like you said, it can take over the rest of your yard as well. So getting
yeah,
that cleaned up, putting good soil in there that the seed can actually grow in, helps prevent the weeds from growing, because the idea is the grass takes over and doesn't give the weeds a place to grow.
yeah. Now, last question of the company. Now, do you do more of commercial work or residential work?
Our focus is commercial work. We have a lot of relationships with builders, developers, commercial property owners, commercial property managers, and facility managers. So we'll work for HOAs, apartment complexes, storage facilities, distribution centers, warehouses, and then we do office buildings and retail. So really across the board, but focused on the commercial client.
Okay. Oh, you still there? Oh,
Yeah,
there we
sorry.
got a little.
Phone call came through.
I got you. But okay, cool. So one thing I know, we know each other, personally a little bit. But I know that you, with this, we're recording this in April. And so, this is a time for you. You're looking for help, right? You,
Yep.
this is you're in your, is it, would this be considered your prime season?
Yeah, this is pretty much our prime season. We're coming out of winter, so a lot of people's parking lots are beat up from the snow on the asphalt end, and then obviously the landscape, now is the time for people to get things cleaned up, planted, grown, so that it's looking good for the summer.
Yeah. So, you've been looking for help from, I know I've seen some of your social media posts. So I want to, just talk to you today about, you know, we know obviously, we're this is April of 2021, so we're still kind of in this COVID pandemic, you know, things are getting a little bit like, loosened, I guess, with the, lockdowns and things like that. But, there's a lot of talk about, people working remotely. But in your industry, I mean, I'm sure there's some office work and that can be done remotely, but a lot of your actual work is in person. It has to be. And I mean, there's no way around it. It's definitely in person. So you need people to be there to, I'm just gonna, shovel or what, whatever you have. So what are some issues you're finding with hiring in this environment right now?
Yeah, so most of our work is, heavily labor focused. Some of the administrative stuff could be done remotely, but most of what we do is labor type work that has to happen at the client site. So recruiting's, a year-round task for us always. But in the last year or so since the pandemic has started, the amount of people, looking to work, applying to work has really diminished. We are spending more and more on advertising and promoting and getting less and less applicants to apply. Um, the people that we do get to apply for the positions, you have a lot of people that are now in the computer technology age as well, besides just the pandemic. So there's not as many people that are looking to do labor work, or our industry, landscaping, it's not the most technical job in the world. It's pretty easy to train somebody, but a lot of people we're finding, even college, high school students that we hire, just don't have that general technical, hard work kind of mindset, I guess you would call it.
Right.
A lot of them, can't even change the tire on their car when it goes flat. They're calling AAA and waiting for them. So to take people that, have no idea on anything mechanical and try to train them is a little bit of a task as well. And a lot of them aren't even willing to be trained. As soon as you explain to them what's involved and the labor part of it, they want a different job, or they'd rather not work at all,
Right. Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah. So are you getting situations where somebody does show up, but then like they work for like a day or two, and then they're like, either they're just like, nah, this isn't for me, or they just don't even show up the next day, or is that?
Yeah, we get a lot of that. It's too hard, it's too this, it's too that. In the landscape this time of year, we work a lot of hours. A lot of them don't want to work more than 6 hours a day, which I'm not sure where they came up with 6 hours as a work day, but for some reason
Yeah.
they think that, by 1 o'clock that they need to be done and go home and do whatever else it is that they need to do throughout the day.
Right.
So
Right.
it definitely makes it difficult for us.
Yeah. Now, and what's, I mean, you had mentioned like college students or high school students, obviously we've had conversations. I have a high school, he'll be a senior next year, and I'm hoping that maybe he can help you out a little bit when he's around this summer. But I mean, is that kind of the age range you're looking at? I mean, you obviously probably are looking more for some full-time people who are, 25 plus, age wise, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely looking for people that have been doing it for a while, that have skills. I mean, different aspects of the services we provide are more technical than the others. So on the grass cutting side, it's easy to take a college or a high school student and kind of teach them how to run a mower, how to properly trim and edge a lawn, put them on a crew with a couple other guys that know what they're doing, that can kind of guide them and mentor them as they go. So that's a good resource for us to try and find people there. On the asphalt and the concrete and some of like the hardscape installs and the other things we do, we need more, full-time, like people that are making that their career. And one thing that we can offer those people that most landscape companies don't is we give our better guys year-round work. Between the commercial work that we do, we also do snow removal. We're able to offer our better guys year-round employment, where a lot of the other landscape companies are letting them work for 6-7 months a year and then laying them off for the rest of the year every year.
Yeah. And then is there, like when you were mentioning, I mean, yeah, the obvious one in the wintertime is plowing, but what other services are going ongoing in the winter months?
So on the landscape construction side, when they're building new homes, a lot of the developers, in order to get a CO, they have to stabilize the yard. So whether we can seed it or if it's too cold, we have to straw and tack it, similar to what you mentioned there on your septic, so that
Yeah.
soil erosion is satisfied and they can get a CO. They have to install the foundation plants. So as long as the ground's not frozen solid and we can dig, we put the foundation plantings in. And then, there's maintenance type work on our commercial customers' properties, down tree limbs from storms, leaves, sticks, hard pruning of some trees that, die in the winter and then come back in the spring, shaping them back up. So different services like that can continue throughout the year. Commercial people are always utilizing their facilities, and that's what they need to go to work and make a profit. So they need to be able to rely on us year round to keep their facilities going.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing I was just thinking with, especially with commercial facilities, like a strip mall or that, is that, there's like with stormwater management, there's kind of these runoff areas, but I don't know if the general public realizes that, you kind of see, typically it'll be like a dip in the ground, but that has to be maintained as well. Even though might just look like some high grasses or something like that, there's actually maintenance issues that you have to maintain throughout the year, correct?
Yeah, that's been a big thing now with the retention ponds, I think is what you're referring to. So
Yes.
each
Yeah.
property, you see those big ponds, or sometimes they're grassy areas with tall reeds. In the last few years, specifically in our area, the DEP has been enforcing basin maintenance, it's called. And most jobs, when they're built in the blueprint specs, has a maintenance schedule that nobody ever paid attention to and ignored. This happens a lot in HOAs and homeowner communities because the basin is basically left to the HOA to maintain after the builder finishes a project. And most of them don't even understand what's required. And now that the DEP is enforcing it and following up with these people, and they have to submit a log of their yearly maintenance, we get a lot of calls that they haven't done anything for 5 years. It's completely overgrown and needs to be almost completely dug out and redone at that point to get it to a manageable point. So that's a good thing to bring up and for people to pay attention to. Getting us on a lot of them we have on like a monthly schedule where we cut them once a month just to keep it from getting too out of control, is important, because after a few years there's trees and everything else growing in there, and then the water doesn't flow properly, and it's a major project to get it reestablished to the way it needs to function.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's funny, you mentioned like, specifications, and obviously I don't personally write specs. I always, when I have projects where that gets involved, I outsource that to a spec writer. But, simply put, the specification has like three parts. It kind of has like the description of the product that, is being specified, kind of some like installation stuffs. I'm really trying to oversimplify this for the public, but then there's actually kind of like a maintenance and warranty section to it as well. And the funny thing is, yeah, during a construction project, those first two sections are really what's being looked at. Like, so for example, if I'm in a project where brick, right, there's a brick wall, it'll say like, use this type, here's the acceptable manufacturers, here, whatever the description is, here's the performance criteria. And then if I'm looking at submittal, that's really what I'm looking at. I'm never looking at that kind of last part of it, but all this information is handed over to the owner to then for their use, right? And you just
Right.
great example is like, yeah, how many times is the owner actually then taking those last parts? I'm sure, like bigger companies that, like, you're working with mall, like I'm trying to think of like a mall developer or type, these bigger companies that are maintaining, millions of square feet of buildings and land, they probably have a system in place where it goes there and they have their people and they have that probably there. But for some smaller developers or facility management companies or what have you, they may not be necessarily doing that. Yeah. And that's just a great example of those retention.
Yeah, we have a lot of clients that we mention it to them, and or the DP calls them and they call us for help, and we say, all right, well, where's your original prints? Let's look at what the maintenance schedule was, and they don't even know where to find that stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, heck, I worked in one of the casino projects that got closed down, and guy bought it out of bankruptcy, and that was one of the first. I was like, hey, I mean, there's a huge plan room in this building, and he didn't know where anything was, and it was like I spent days at a time, like up in there trying to find the information, and literally some of it was like on the other side of the building in some, like it was a room that the construction management company left all their files in boxes, and it just was never. And it was an area that was supposed to be for like a retail space that was going to get fit out, but it never got built. And it was all sitting there, and he didn't even know it was there. Like, wow. And the only reason why I knew it was there was I was in that area looking for something, like kind of walking around, like, because there was an idea that they had in that space. And I go in, and I was like, what are all these boxes and all this, and I started opening it up. I'm like, oh, here's all the files that I needed, 2 months ago. And it's like, oh, well, and that's a giant casino building, so things I guess could get lost. But yeah, but even in a smaller building, I could see that happening. But
excuse me.
Bless you.
Allergies.
Yeah, that's the other part, right?
Yeah, it comes with landscaping.
Yeah. So but yeah, so I mean, is there any, there's the kind of, I guess, finding people who are looking, that you're looking to help, but are there any, I mean, you kind of touched on kind of people who are like showing up and not really being there, but are there any other challenges you're finding with training or? Yeah.
I guess just, changing our operations to kind of fit the new COVID model, as far as, trying to keep the crews away from each other when they're at the shop and loading up in the morning, spacing them out appropriately, making sure that our crew size, or at least the guys riding in a truck to the crews, is limited, so that we limit the amount of contact that way. We had to invest in a fogging machine so that we could fog all the trucks at the end of the day each day, just to make sure that, we're sanitizing properly. And, just having the guys work. Luckily, most of our work is outside, so we have that benefit to us, but there's still a lot of work that we do that requires that team effort, and trying to keep the guys working as a team, but also socially distanced is obviously a challenge.
Right. So, and with that being outside, I mean, do you have like, are there certain situations where your employees would have to wear a mask, and there's other ones where they wouldn't, like if they're kind of on their own away from everybody, do they not have to wear a mask, and or any other precautions? And then, but if there's like a group of people together, then they would, or like, how does that work for your industry?
Yeah, I mean, we try and tell them, best practice is to just wear their mask at all times, unless it's, unsafe for them to do so. Certain tasks on some of the crews do require them to wear like a respirator. So obviously they can't wear the mask when they're wearing the respirator, but they kind of have different form of protection at that point.
Yeah.
We tell them, best practices for right now to just try and wear it at all times. We bought them all like the gaiters with the company logo on it, so they all kind of just wear them around their neck all day, keep them up over their face, and it's not as bad as having like a paper mask or some of those disposable ones that, like, when you sweat, it absorbs your sweat and dust and all that stuff. The gaiter seems to work a little bit better for the conditions they're working with in the field right now.
Yeah, I had to do I was scanning an existing building last year, and it wasn't a paper mask, but it was a reusable one. And actually, it's sitting over here probably, but yeah, but after it was a little warmer, and it was like that whole, like the moisture kind of build up inside of it. And yeah, it was it wasn't very clean by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was actually a lot, like, not that it was hard physical work, but I'm still taking, moving around a tripod and a camera and doing what I need to do. But it's like, it just kind of like, I had to constantly take it off because, like I said, it was all wet inside the mask for that. But did you have like, I'm just relating actually to, like, so my wife's dance school, she had to actually produce a document and submit it to I think it was the county, in order for her to be open and in operations. Do you have to do anything similar to that?
Uh, Before, now they stop, but before, yeah, like every morning we had to have like a screening form that we filled out of all the employees that came to work, and they had to certify that they hadn't been around anybody that was experiencing any symptoms. We did temperature checks with a non-contact thermometer. I don't know what the technical name is for that there, but the
One of the
one you kind of, yeah,
yeah, we got one.
scanner.
Yeah.
And then even some of our clients now require us each week before we come out for service, we have to fill out COVID release forms for the crew and submit them to them prior to us arriving at the site.
Oh, okay. And there's more your commercial clients in that case?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd find it hard if you had a residential client. I mean, I've run into situations. It's like, hey, it's your house, but it's your rules, type thing. Whatever
Right.
they said, you kind of follow it. But yeah. Okay. So I
Luckily,
mean,
we're exterior most of the time, so we're outside. We don't have to like necessarily contact the client or be inside their home.
yeah. So I mean, is there anything else? I mean, so where are you? Like, are you finding that are you getting enough people, or you're running into difficulties still, and
Yeah,
finding
we're
people?
still running into difficulties. I'd say we're probably understaffed from where we were last year by like 15%,
Yeah,
which has made it a challenge for us. We had to change some of the things we did operationally in order to accommodate that and make sure that we can still service our clients effectively. And this year, when we sent our contracts out, we had to be a little more selective with the contracts we chose to took on, knowing that we had a limited pool of people to pull from the service.
yeah. Now, are you finding that you're getting more requests though this year?
Yeah, last year, I'd say after maybe May 15th, it like really ramped up, and it's been ramped up ever since.
Yeah,
With the housing market, people are buying and selling homes nonstop. The builders are building homes nonstop, so that creates a ton of demand for people want to redo the house they just moved into, or if they're building a new house, it needs to be landscaped for the CO, like we just talked about. So there's definitely a lot of demand. It's just a problem in the trade industry overall, I think, is a lack of qualified labor. Every trade we talk to on these builder sites has the same issue. There's more work than qualified people to perform the work.
yeah. No, it's funny because even for me, like in theory, I have a lot of work that could be done remotely, right? I'm doing most of my drawings and whatnot in the computer. But finding that the qualified people, and even you had mentioned earlier, it's almost like, yeah, people have like their own rules, like, yeah, they want to be done by 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
You mentioned, you're just like, well, I just, no, it's like, I mean, personally for me, I typically, if especially like right now, I just do like essentially outsourcing. I don't necessarily have employees, but like
Right.
kind of like, hey, I got this project. Here's what I need you to do, and I need it by Thursday. You know, I don't care if you do it at 5 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock at night or any other time. As long as Thursday at whatever time, like let's say Thursday at 2 o'clock comes and it's done and it's right, I'm good. Whatever else you want
Yeah,
to do.
you have an advantage there because I think a lot of people are trying to go to that gig type model or whatever the correct term is for these days. I see that a lot on social media, gig or whatever. So between the Ubers and the DoorDash, I feel like people are programmed that they can just work when they want and they can just click a button and be off when they feel like they want to be off.
Yeah. Yeah, the only downside I see with that is the is the training aspect, actually. Is, I get in this cut, like if I got one person who helps me here with one job, that's great. Like actually I'm dealing with one right now where there's a revision. The person who helped me, he's not available for this round. So now I got to jump in and do it myself. Or, it would have been much easier just to kind of be like, hey, here's the project, here are the changes, go to it, because you've already, done it. But then if I bring somebody else in, I got to retrain them and be like, hey, these are the things we got to be looking at, blah, 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 blah. But no, it's actually a situation where it's a quick turnaround. And the only way to get it done quickly is for me to do it myself. And as a business owner, that's the worst. I've realized that's the worst scenario is, because you could look at it and say, hey, I make X amount of, money an hour, right? And the person I'm, coming in to outsource makes a third of that, but really it's not costing me, I'm not saving money, because it's actually really costing me whatever I make an hour. Not that a third, the third, so let's just say if I'm making 150 an hour and I'm paying somebody $50 an hour, right? It's not really costing me $50 an hour. It's really costing me $150 an hour because I'm doing it myself. Because as a business owner, I got to be it's taking me away from doing these other things, so.
Yeah, as a business owner, you have so many things to do. Your time is so valuable. So that's why you need people you can rely on, because yeah, you could do it, but like you said, is your time really well spent doing that, or is there something else? And we have the same problem with, we have some projects that are larger projects and go on for months. And when we take one crew out and put another crew, then, they lose a day or half a day just trying to get familiar and acquainted with the project and really understand what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So that whole gig culture, I guess, can work, but there's some downsides to that as well. So you had mentioned to me offline, you get involved also with some real estate investing, correct?
Yeah, that's I guess you could call it one of my hobbies or side things. I got a lot of things I'm involved in, but yeah, that's one of the things that I do and I kind of enjoy.
Yeah, and you do it's a residential only, or?
No, so we have some commercial rentals, we have some residential rentals. We have a couple lots where we've built new homes on and resold them. Right now we're in the process of doing a duplex that we're building, brand new duplex on a lot that I have, and we'll keep that as one of our rental units in our portfolio here. But yeah, I'm a little bit all over the place. It's kind of like a hobby for me, I guess, or a side thing, so I can be a little more selective. I don't have to take on projects that I feel aren't worth my time per se, because my other businesses are my main focus.
Right. So one of the things you had said to me offline, you gave me a term called house hacking. What do you mean by house hacking?
So house hacking is, I guess, a newer term in the real estate development industry. It's real popular online right now. It kind of started with the whole Airbnb thing a few years ago. So it depends on what state and town you're in, because different towns have ordinance against it. But what it is, taking unused space inside your current home and turning that into a rental that generates cash flow to either, give you a secondary income or pay your mortgage for you, so that, you can pretty much live without a mortgage. So what people do is take attic spaces, basement spaces that aren't utilized, hire somebody such as you to come up with a design on how they could fit that space out and make it into a usable apartment place, and generate income for themselves and have somebody else pay rent that in turn pays their mortgage or generates cash flow for them.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I actually had somebody contact me recently who was like, hey, I'm in one of the towns nearby. He had mentioned if you had just said like basement, and that he's like, hey, I have an unfinished basement. I rent rooms out in my house, is what he told me. And I was like, so you live in a dorm? Like I personally didn't know it. Like I was like, this doesn't even sound legit. I'm not legit, but this doesn't sound legal, And it it's interesting, you had mentioned how, yes, bring somebody like myself in there, because I see, yeah, I'm getting these requests and I'm like, yeah, but that's not allowed. That's not actually allowed. I mean, you can, it's what you want to do. I get it, but it's like the laws and the code don't allow for that. So here are the steps you need to take if you want to make it legal, and you want to continue to do that. And there's a lot with like accessory dwelling units, in-law suites. I've gotten a lot of projects like that in the past couple of years, and I've come to find out that there's actually some towns that don't even have there's some towns that have like very detailed rules about it, but then other towns who have, there's no rules related to that. And then because there's no rules, there's one of two ways. There's one where they'll like they're going to work with you, but then there's other towns that are like, oh, we don't have rules on purpose. I come to find out because that
They
plan
don't want it.
the plan examiner actually does not have the rules, because then that plan examiner has all the power and is opened up to his interpretation. He actually said this one plan examiner said that to me. He's like, oh, it's open to my interpretation and my interpretation only. And that's why when I was like, well, wouldn't it make sense to have some, like, just some guidelines for this? Cause I'm like, look, this other town has it and it works out great. And he's like, no, we're not going to do it because, it's open to my interpretation, and I don't want it to have any of that, because, it's like job security, I guess, in that one case. But yeah, I've seen stuff with like Airbnbs where it's like, yeah, certain towns don't want those, for different types of reasons. And yeah, it's just that I've even seen somebody I know last year told me, he's like, hey, there is this, and I forget the name of the app or website, but he has an in-ground pool in his backyard. So there was an app like an Airbnb where people can rent your pool for like the afternoon
Wow.
and stuff, and he's
Never
like,
heard that one yet.
yeah, he's like, yeah, I got like $300 for the afternoon. This family came over, they wanted to have a party for their kids or something, so they rented my pool. And I guess there's custom rules and stuff of how that works, but he was like, yeah, so for $300, I got $300 for them to be here for an afternoon, and they can use our grill and different things like that. And he's like, and to be quite honest, I was just in my house, let them be out there. He's like, but I don't have to be here necessarily for it. So yeah, so there's definitely like different little income streams that people are kind of figuring out, and then and then companies are taking advantage by having like the Airbnb type websites or apps that are out there now.
Yeah, I see a lot of that, even like with RVs and boats now. There's websites where you can list your boat or your RV and people can just rent it from you for the day. And I guess it makes sense. A lot of these things now, everything is so expensive. It's a big investment, and anybody that has a boat knows it's pretty much a money pit, and you can't ever utilize it enough. So if you could rent it out and recoup some of that cost, I think that's a win.
Yeah. No, I know. Well, we lived it like with my father-in-law, who built sailboats, and then when he passed away, he had two boats that he had built, and we were like, we wanted to hold on to it, but at the same time, there was nobody in the family who knew how to maintain it. So we kind of kept the first one for a while that he had built, like kept it just in the, like at the time before my mother-in-law lived with us, she had her own place with like a 2-car garage. She kept it there, but then it just got to the point of like, we should just sell it and give it to somebody who could use it, and take care of
Right.
it. Yeah, it's definitely even I think it's sitting in a garage all year long. There's still like stuff you got to do to it to keep it up. But yeah, no, so yeah, it is definitely interesting in terms of so with some of your rentals or properties, do you go like the Airbnb route or something like that with any of them?
We haven't yet. We wanted to, and we were looking this year to do that in Florida, but the prices for real estate got so high, I kind of pushed back a little bit because I was like, I don't want to overpay right now while the price is high and then have to try and rely on this Airbnb thing that I know a lot of people are successful, but it would be the first time for us trying it. And I
Hmm.
was like, I'll wait till I find something that is a little more manageable and we can kind of figure out the whole Airbnb thing before we start getting too heavily invested in it. Cause I feel like it's anything else. I'm sure it's capable and the right people can make good money, but you got to figure out the little tricks and nuances to it in order to really be effective.
Yeah, yeah. So do you have, are most of your properties just kind of in this area? Like the Florida thing is something you were looking to get into, or do you have stuff down there now?
Yeah, no, it's something we were looking to get into. Our goal is to ultimately have a home there that, in the winter we can go to down there. So we're looking now to start investing in some properties there that we can, rent out and let the cash flow kind of pay them down. So in our later years, we'll have some place to go that's hopefully paid for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's something. Well, it's like my sister. She's an empty nester now, and they've become these Disney nuts. So yeah, about 2 years ago, they got a place down like in Orlando area, which
Uh,
yeah, yeah. So it's it's interesting because with her work, she has to go out to, I think, Minnesota a lot, and she found that where she lives out in Central PA. She was telling me that whether it's a direct flight to Minnesota or maybe she had to drive to like Baltimore or something and then do a direct flight, and the time and the money it cost, it was actually cheaper for her because near her out in Central PA, she could get a direct flight down to Florida. She was like, it was easier and cheaper for me to fly to Florida and then fly from Florida like to Orlando and then go from Orlando to Minnesota than to go kind of more direct like Baltimore to Orlando or Minnesota. And
huh.
so half the time she's like, yeah, when I have to do those trips, I just fly back to Orlando and stay at my place down there, especially in the wintertime rather than come back up to Pennsylvania where it's cold,
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, I'm going from Pennsylvania to Minnesota. I'm just staying in cold, and then but it's easier for me to just go to Orlando. So I'll go down to the sun for a couple days and then go back. So I think she's enjoying doing that. And then it actually works out even doubly well because my mom lives down in that area now too. So visits with my mom at this at the same time. So
Yeah,
um
it's nice.
yeah, but yeah, so you were also mentioning, we'll just kind of wrap this up on the personal end because I mentioned I have my farm, but you get into like hunting and fishing and things like that. You have a boat, I'm assuming, because from what
Yeah,
you
we
said.
have we have a boat we take the kids out on. I don't really get to do a lot of fishing on the boat we have. It's more like a family boat. We take the kids out on a weekend. We go out to like the sandbars, to the coves, and let the beach up and let them hang out and run around and swim. So it's kind of like going to the beach without all the hassle of driving to the beach and parking and lugging all the stuff up on the
Yeah,
sand with kids. I know you know that challenge.
yeah, yeah. So you're going like I see it all the time, like the back bays and whatnot.
Yeah, so we keep our boat in Summers Point in the marina right there. So we're right across the bay from Ocean City, which makes it a lot easier to drive down there from our house. It's only like a half hour, and we get right on the boat and get in the water, and then we go right out to the sandbars and all out by Corson's Inlet there. There's another place up by the parkway where people all meet together, and there's a little beach there. The kids go on the beach, and we all go out in the water, float around, and hang out.
Yeah, yeah. No, I see. Like we usually we rent a place like on the southern end of Ocean City, where
Okay.
the wildlife reserve is.
Yeah,
And
right by Corson's Inlet there, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. And there's there's actually we'll sometimes like my oldest and I we'll take we'll ride our bikes up the road that connects to it's not what's the next, it's not Sea Isle, but it's
Strathmere.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we usually go right up before the Strathmere Bridge, but we see that there's that one sand, like you were mentioned, there was like a sandbar out there usually where I see boats parked up um in the middle of
Yeah,
the
you got to
water.
time the
Yeah,
tides right, because that sandbar is only there at low tide. At high tide, it's underwater.
yeah, 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 yeah. So no, that's always like a nice little spot. And I don't have a boat, but it's always like we're riding the bikes. It's like, oh man, it'd be great to have one. and get
Yeah,
back.
well, let me know this year if you guys are down there what week, and I'll meet up with you one day. We'll take a cruise around out there.
Okay. No, that sounds like a good thing. I can tell you it's usually the last week of August. It's,
Okay.
my daughter's birthday is August 28th, and we're always down there for her birthday. It's kind of like a thing because she always wants to get like Uncle Bill's in the morning, for her birthday breakfast.
Yeah, it's a nice gift.
Yeah. So no, but no, and well, actually, here's another question. Do you get like we just got a canoe for my son last year, and because he goes, I had mentioned this before. He goes up to summer camp, and so does my daughter, and my youngest will eventually go too to summer camp up in New Hampshire. And when we do that, we actually do get it like an Airbnb, like lake house, and that, and
Oh,
like
wow.
yeah. So 2 years ago when we got this lake house, and they had kayaks and canoes there, and so we went out on the lake every day and all that. So he kind of like really enjoyed it. Heck, I even really enjoyed it too. So we have a canoe, but we're looking for. Are you familiar with like any like the canoe paths in like South Jersey or or trails, not paths?
Not particularly. We've done like kayaking, so I know out there. What's the town over there? Out by Running Deer Golf Course. There's that big nature park and the beach and the lake right there, and all
Okay.
through there, there's a bunch of canoe paths. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head right now, but there's a bunch over there. And then I also know down on the Black Horse Pike by Mays Landing Road there's a pizza place where everybody goes tubing. If you go up the road there on Mays Landing, a state park where you can drop in.
Oh, yeah, I'll have to look into that one. Yeah, I'm having a hard time picturing it, but you're saying so. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look into that one.
Yeah, Black Horse Pike and Mays Landing Road. There's like a double track.
Hopefully, I think we kind of, Matt, you there? I don't know if he's kind of froze up here. All right. Well, yeah, I don't know if I might have lost Matt here, but I think we're kind of wrapping it up anyway. So hopefully you can get back in here. But Matt, I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing a bit of your story and a few things with your business and whatnot. So what I'll do actually, since it looks like Matt is frozen up here. Oh, yeah, I completely just lost him now. Maybe you can hopefully you can jump on here. I wanted to give him a chance to finish this up and let us know how to get in touch with him. But yeah, if he doesn't jump back on here in the next few seconds here, I will add those to the show notes, and we'll take it from there. Yeah, so run into a little technical thing here at the end, but again, thanks Matt for coming on, and until next time, it's Rich the Architect. We're signing off. See ya.